Overcast Gamers Show. My name is Abe Foster. I'm joined as per usual by Regan Harper, Balthazar Valentine, and we're back. We've actually hit our 2-week, usual time frame. We're back on form, boys. It's feeling good.
Has it taken what a year?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's taken. Yeah. Me uprooting my life and moving halfway across the world, and then, yeah, God knows, and then
to the point where you were like, "Wait, was it actually been 2 weeks?" So it has. Normally we just don't manage it. So
we were down to like a month and then 2 months at one point, but hoping to be back on the regular at the moment. So hoping to stick to that. But anyone who tuned in last episode, I was away in terms of my video, and there was a specific reason for that. I mean, we sort of touched on it. We were saying we're having a few bandwidth issues on my end. Have now figured out why that was, dear viewers, dear listeners, and that was because someone was siphoning my bandwidth off and leading me to have a 0.3 megabit connection, which is basically, it's mid-tier dial-up. It's basically, it's unusable in terms of video streaming. So
when you say siphoning off, explain that further, because this is a situation that I don't think people hear about it and they go, that's crazy, that could happen, but it's never the thing that happens. So what's the dealio?
So basically, it's been happening ever since I moved. Basically, the issue's been existing ever since I moved here. I think it's 4.5 months I've been in Scotland. Since I had started living where I'm living and jumped on this internet connection, it's been pretty slow, and it's been fluctuating in terms of speeds, and it drops out every now and then and whatnot. But in the last sort of 2 weeks, it got to a point where, as I mentioned, it was basically unusable. It was 0.3 megabits, and that was too much. And we've been hassling the internet service provider for a while now. Had 3 technicians out to our house to try and see what the issue is. They've done line tests and been like, should be running fine. It doesn't. Every time, it runs fine for a while, and it usually runs fine while they're there, and then it just goes back to shit as soon as they leave. Good old Murphy's Law. And so we eventually figured out that what has happened is that someone has hacked into our. Essentially, they've hacked into our router, and via our router, they've installed a piece of software either on the router or on my housemate's laptop, sort of a Trojan or a backdoor or something like that, which has turned her laptop into part of a botnet. Now, for those unfamiliar with that, a botnet is, you might have heard the term zombie computer as well. So this is where someone will essentially hack into thousands of computers at the same time via these little backdoors or worms or whatever you want to call them, and use their processing power, use their bandwidth to orchestrate an attack, denial of service attack, or various other forms of attacks, and just use a little bit of power from each of these computers or a little bit of bandwidth from each. Usually you wouldn't notice because you'd usually have a pretty decent connection, 30 to 40 megabits. If one goes missing, you're not going to know. For someone who is rocking a 2 megabit connection, when one goes missing, you know. Boy, do you know.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we've evicted the unwanted guest. Well, I hope we have for now.
Excellent.
We've done a big cleanup and evicted the unwanted. We're rocking a relatively stable 2 megabit connection now, which is all you need for video calling. We're going all right with that. So touch wood that smooth sailing from here on in. But
amazing. It just blows my mind because it's the kind of thing where you might go to or you might be surfing the web and something will be up and it's like internet security is important, and you're like yeah I know. But also, what are the chances? Like, there's how many billions of people are using the internet, and yada yada yada. It's just one of those things you think is never going to happen to you, and and then it happens. Like, what are the odds?
Man,
Crazy.
it just makes me think about where I am in the world now. You know, it's Europe is obviously a much 400 million, over 400 million people here. A lot larger population than little old New Zealand, a lot more targets than little old New Zealand, and obviously we have unfortunately fallen into that statistical bracket. So
fallen into the trap, yeah.
yeah,
Amazing.
basically, yeah. So, you know, BT, get better security on your routers, please. That's all I'll say. And
Man, you must be loving it now, though. Like, what was the first thing you did once the bandwidth came back? Just watching YouTube or something?
I did a speed test.
Oh, no.
I just sat there doing speed tests.
There they are. There's both of the megabits.
Yeah, exactly. The needle, instead of the needle going like, it actually went. And it was great to watch. I loved it. It's that satisfaction. I get satisfaction out of watching internet speeds. I used to watch, you know, torrents and things like that back in the day, and just sit there watching them, because when you get really good speeds, you're like, that's the stuff right there.
I was watching things recently, actually, because I was downloading a large quantity of things. And yeah, it's that point where when you've been watching the speed and you know what you should be getting, you start to like notice when even if it's just a tiny bit, you're not getting what you should. Like, I'm looking at something and I'm like, this is only 400 megabytes and it reckons it's going to be 30 seconds. Nah, what's going on? Like, all the other files here have downloaded in 7 seconds. What are you doing? What's just happened to my internet? Where's it gone?
Yeah.
Oh man, so the main frustrations for me were, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like, I'm subscribed to about 30, and I usually get through about maybe just over half of those per week. So I'll listen to around 18 podcasts a week or something like that. Podcasts on average now will say about 70 to 80 megabytes, let's say.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Downloading one of those on my previous connection would take about 25 to 30 minutes, I would say.
Oh, wow.
And there's
what's your phone as well, though? Are you Android?
Android. Yeah, Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, I was going to say, because part of the blame would lie with the provider if you're with Apple, because I've noticed even on my connection, it likes to just not download a podcast after you've asked it to for a couple of minutes. It'll just sit there pending the download, being like, no.
Yeah, like, just thinking about it. Like, yeah. No, iTunes is garbage. Like,
it's so bad.
Yeah.
Well, the app that I use to download podcasts called Pocket Cast, which I actually really love. I actually I think I paid like $10 for it. I liked it so much, and I bought it on desktop and mobile, and you know, paid for both of them because I love it and they sync up and everything. But it also has some sort of, obviously they never expect someone to have as slow a speeds as I had, so sometimes it would get to a point where it would get close to the end of downloading, you know, 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes of downloading one episode, and then it would just all go away. Just all reset. Just for no reason.
Just go away.
It's just gone. It's just gone. And you, and I'd be watching that, because I'd be checking it and making sure because another thing, if my screen went idle, like if it turned off, that might reset it as well. I'm not sure what was going on there, but I live out in the wilderness. I have slow internet. I enjoy staying connected, and watching internet speeds is one of the small joys in my life. I really do like it. So when I can't even get my podcasts, dark days, boys. Dark days.
Yep. Well, welcome back to the light, mate.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
but
it's good.
You know, BT, their customer support was pretty hideous, but I think, Balthazar, you've had a recent customer support fiasco as well.
Yeah, I have. So my internet went out on Tuesday afternoon. It's all fixed now, so I'm actually going to reveal everything. If it wasn't and we were still discussing things, then I might hide things, but I don't care if someone from Vodafone's listening now. I potentially broke our internet connection on Tuesday afternoon when I moved where the modem was plugged in, and I think I caused a power surge and kind of blew it up. And
I didn't even know that was possible.
And so, yeah, it was, I mean, it's one of those things, maybe it wasn't, but that was the exact time it went off, because first it was the modem just shut down from that, and so then I plugged it back in somewhere else, and I was like, okay, the modem's all right, the power light's coming on. Then it kept doing a power cycle where, downstream would connect, upstream would connect, online would flash, and then it would drop back down to nothing and start going up again. And after about an hour, downstream wouldn't even connect anymore. So I called my service provider, which is Vodafone, notorious for having decent actual internet service they offer, but the worst customer service in the world. And they were one of the best customer service experiences I've ever had. They were really good. So first, I actually, tell a lie, the first person I got was not helpful in the least, but everyone after them was fine. There's always the gatekeeper who's just a horrible person to deal with.
Power trip and customer support person.
And so first she was just like, what's your customer number? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, you can log into your account and find it here. I was like, handy, I don't have the internet, so I don't know. Like, how do you want me to log into my account? And she gave the classic Blizzard response, don't you have a phone? I was like, yeah, I'm talking to you on it. What do you want me to do? Like,
and also, like, this is your job. Like, I can give you all my credentials.
Yeah. And so then what was it after that? She asked me for something else I also didn't have. And then she was like, oh. And then it was silent for about 10 seconds. I was like, do you want my name and address? Like, and she was like, oh yeah, I suppose that'll work. Oh, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, I gave those. She gave me 2 customer numbers. She was like, I don't know which one of these is you. I'm gonna put you on hold now and transfer you to someone else who will be able to work out which is you.
Right? Like,
yeah, right. So then I got transferred through to someone else who was immensely helpful. She was like, okay, this one is you. Let's have a look at your network. She ran a quick test on my network straight away and was like, yep, that's offline. Like, your cable is reading as offline from our end. So that's definitely like broken. It's not your modem or anything like that. I still think maybe I somehow shorted the cable as well, but I mean, that's cool. So yeah, they were like, oh, is there anything that you think might have caused it? And I was like, oh yeah, last weekend, because we just actually had the box that the cable plugs into moved into a different room, because I wanted to move the office. So I was like, yeah, we had a technician come around on the weekend who actually moved the access point. So it's I don't know, is it possible that something there wasn't wired up? And she was like, oh, almost certainly. So we'll send another guy around. And then while she was looking at it, she's like, oh, you're aware, actually. So I can see when you started your plan that you're on the cable VDSL, because that was the fastest you can get. We actually, everything's been laid in your area now for fiber, so we can actually upgrade you to FiberX if you want. And she's like, the same technician can just come out and do it, free of charge and all that stuff. He'll just give you a new modem, put you on a faster connection, and fix it while he's there. So she helped me out with all that, but then she had to transfer me to someone else again. She was like, cool, I'm only in kind of the customer service stuff and booking. Technically, even though it's not going to cost you anything, this is now a sales call if you want to upgrade, because we need to change your contract and everything. Right. So she put me through to a sales dude who was the second real good dude I spoke to. He was like, yep, absolutely, it's all in the area. You'll probably be getting sort of 80 to 100 MBS down faster, and double the upload. If you do it, we'll need to refresh your contract, which means you will need to stay with us for another 12 months, but it's going to be the same cost plan that you're on now. And then he was actually like, I can see you've had a couple of issues with your line. He didn't know that the first dude to come out was moving the access point. He just looked in their system and saw that we'd had to have 2 technicians come out to look at our internet connection. So he was like, oh, it looks like you've had a few troubles with your connection lately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook you up with a $10 discount on your bill every month. So I'm actually paying $10 less for double the internet.
That's $120 saved.
$120 a year. So yeah, thanks Vodafone. They sorted me out. What I can do after this podcast as well, if you like, Abe, I can point my camera at the screen and show you a pretty good speed test dial going up.
I'd love that.
Get your
It'll
fix
keep me
for the
going
day.
for a while. Yeah.
So yeah, first thing I did on the new connection was run a speed test.
Yep.
Mostly because of how quick it was. The dude came in, was here for like 5 minutes, and then was like, "You're all good," and left. And I was like, "Did he do both things? Did he fix it and like upgrade? Like he wasn't here long at all." So I ran a speed test just to check, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, he." Apparently they're just super efficient.
It's not hard for them to do, I don't think. If a certain amount is done, they can just fucking sham the thing in the watch.
Yeah,
the way
that's
it goes.
it, right? And all the fiber stuff was already there, so they didn't have to do any actual, moving cabling or anything like that, or hooking anything in. I guess it was just putting us on the right network. So yeah, awesome.
Was that with Chorus? Was that the guy who came in and did
No,
all the...
no, it was just a Vodafone technician account because there was no kind of cable laying or anything to be done. It was just hooking it in.
Right.
And so it was just a Vodafone technician that came out for that.
Shit, yeah, that's rad.
And the dude was real good as well. He was like, every now and again when they first get set up, there can be teething problems with the modem just needing to kind of reset a few times. If it's giving you any difficulty, just give me a call. And he just left his cell phone number. He's like, I'll be in your area for a few hours still, so if there's any issues, just give me a call.
Nice.
So he was like a real good dude. I was just like, to be honest, mate, I'm going to work in a minute. I'm not going to know, but but yeah, no. So that was it. Like, anyone listening from New Zealand, don't believe the lies. Vodafone doesn't have terrible customer service. You just got to get past the gatekeeper. The easiest way to get past that is just make a note of your member number somewhere, your customer number, and then she'll just put you straight through to someone who can help. Yeah. But yeah, I got better internet for cheaper.
Amazing.
Good stuff, man. I still don't know how you can get 2 customer numbers. That completely defeats the point of having a customer number. But
it's like, wait,
anyway.
So there's 2 Balthazars living at the address?
So I think it's the address that has 2 customer numbers because the downstairs is on a different connection to the upstairs.
Right, yeah.
And
but
they're
still,
both with Vodafone, but there are different names on the accounts. So yeah.
My name is Balthazar Valentine.
At 11A.
One of them should be that name.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe on their end it looks weird because I set them both up initially and then just kind of handed the contract of downstairs over to people when they moved in. So maybe that's why, but like, yeah, it's definitely not my name on the other contract. So it's weird.
Strange.
I like the fact that there's the potential for someone to be like, go over to their colleague and they're like, look at this. Balthazar lives with another guy called Balthazar. That might have happened in the Vodafone offices.
Yeah. Oh man.
What are the chances?
But yeah.
Anyway.
No, that was a good customer service experience and good internet experience with Vodafone. And yeah, it's been great. And I've been on the internet non-stop since we got it back. Just because it's faster. Like, I don't even have new stuff to do on it. I'm just like, I can do things faster than I could before.
I miss those days. Regan, have you got anything you've been doing, man? Anything that's been going on in your life?
My internet has been relatively stable.
Good stuff.
Aside from at work, nothing huge going on in my life at the moment. Just playing video games and working on, sort of renewed vigor for working on the old motorbike that I have. Want to try and get that going again now that the sun is shining and I can get outside and do things. But nothing interesting, man. It's just life. So yeah, we can quickly move on, I think.
Well, I think you said, speaking of your internet's been relatively stable. Tell me a bit more about Red Dead Redemption 2, because I believe you've still been playing that.
I am definitely. I was a little bit let down because Balthazar got my hopes up the other week and was like, yeah, so I heard that the online version's coming out on Friday, and I was like, what? That's so early. That they don't usually launch that for a few months. I was talking about how I was going to do a stream. I was going to be like, Friday night, I'm going to do a special stream. Everyone telling people about it, like, make sure you tune in. Got home that Friday night, went online and was like, oh, it's not out for quite some time.
Yeah.
I think late November. Like, it might be out in the next couple weeks, but yeah. Anyway, when it does,
I'm gonna pivot and turn the blame. This is on you, Marshall Woods. Don't tell me false release times.
It has
He's the one who pushed for the stream. He really wanted you to stream it.
Well, I did too, and that's fair. But it didn't happen, and it will happen. That's what I was going to say. It will happen when it does drop. We'll do a stream. So Marshall, if you're watching, we'll do the stream. So yeah, that was a thing. But generally, just still playing the game. I guess the one thing that has come up that I did want to mention is, there's been talk about how the games are potentially a little bit boring for some people. I don't want to throw the B word around, but there are a few people who have picked up the game and got into it, and people have been saying like it's a walking simulator and that sort of thing, and you do spend a lot of time on your horse and all that sort of stuff. I went through this weird thing over the last week with the game where I I decided that I was going to start pushing my way through the story missions because I felt like I was spending quite a bit of time, and it was just it was slow, and I just wanted to kind of get my pace up a bit. And it's an odd thing. Like, I found that when I started pushing my way, really forcing myself to kind of do story mission, it had the inverse effect where I felt like I wasn't getting as much from the game, and I started to get oddly kind of, I don't know if bored is the right word, but sort of
detached or something.
Detached. Like, I wasn't treating it. And I think what it is, I've been thinking about this a little bit. Everything, the kind of, if you had a design document for this game, right in the middle of that kind of big Venn diagram flowchart would be immersion. You know, immersion is kind of the key element that everything else hangs off with this game. And as soon as I think what I did wrong was, as soon as I started to try and push my way through the story, I was forgetting about that core kind of tenet of the way that the game is designed, and I was just treating it as a game, you know, just I want to push through the story and just do that, rather than taking my time and just being in the world. So, and I noticed that, and I felt like I just wasn't getting as much out of the game as I should be. So I decided that I was going to do a thing, and I've got it all recorded on my phone, so eventually I'll do something with this, where I was in Saint-Denis, I think is how they say it, the city in the bottom right of the map. And I was like, okay,
Louisiana,
cool. I'm just going to try and like
the sort of New Orleans stand-in.
Yeah, that's it. And I need to get back to the immersion factor of this game. So what I decided to do was, one evening I said to myself, I'm not going to do any missions. I'm just going to stock up on food, and I'm going to stock up on ammo, and I'm just going to ride north, and I'm going to do a hunting trip, and I'm going to see what I can catch. An hour later, I'm still in Saint-Denis, have been like sidetracked 4 or 5 times by just random strangers and things like that. Finally got the things I need, start riding north, sidetracked 3 or 4 more times by just people on the side of the road, and you know, all these kind of things. And after probably an hour and a half, I was like, wow, this is back to what this game is all about. It's back to just, you know, not necessarily pushing through it and treating it like a collectathon. It's kind of like the antithesis of the open world game, the Ubisoft open world game, where it's just a big collectathon and all that sort of stuff. You know, they're getting better now, but it actually doesn't work when you treat it like that, because it breaks that immersion factor. So by doing this thing where I sort of rode north and I turned off the mini-map, that was really cool to do as well. Just had the compass and just navigated by line of sight, that sort of thing. Totally different game when you play it like that. And and I basically spent the next 2 days of my playing time just doing a big loop of the northern part of the map, doing whatever side quests I came across, and killing animals, rampantly killing animals as you do.
Have you had a duck fly into the side of your horse?
I haven't. Is that a thing?
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, it's great. It's happened to me a couple of times. You'll ride past some sort of nesting ducks, and they'll go wah and start taking off and just smack straight into you and kill themselves. It's amazing. You just get a free duck and then clip it on the side of your horse.
Amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of the thing with Red Dead at the moment for me, is just getting away from that idea of kind of treating it as a game and just getting back to just immersing myself in the cowboy simulator, you know, and it kind of works. Arthur in the game has a big old moustache, and I'm growing a moustache for November this month.
Nice.
So I kind of get it out, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of just Arthur, and it's great. So yeah, I don't know. That's been kind of my gaming for the last couple of weeks, to be honest, is just getting into that. So it's cool. But you've been playing as well, Abe. You've had a good chunk of time. Any thoughts? I know you don't really want to talk about it too much, but any? Yeah,
I think we'll do a dedicated Red Dead chat sometime soon. So we won't go into it too much because we talked about it last week. But yeah, there's a few moments that have really stuck out to me, and one when I was in Saint-Denis as well. And I'm not sure if you've done it, but I went to one of the shows that they put on, the vaudeville
Haven't done any shows. Haven't been to any of them. I should check it out.
It's just ludicrous, like fully it would have been about 10 minutes long, 10 minutes real time, the show. And you go in, you buy your ticket, you go in, you walk into the theatre, you pick your seat, whatever seat you want. I sat down beside someone and talked to them, and they were like, "Oh, I can't wait to see the show." I was like, "This game is insane." And then I started watching the show, and it's just like your usual hokey kind of a guy catching a bullet in his teeth and things like that. But he asked for audience participation at one point, and
wow,
I tried to get up, because you can get out of your seat as well at any time. You can also cheer and boo at any time during the performance. So I had a whale of a time doing that, just doing it in the wrong moments, like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm or something. Like some really attractive lady will come out and she'll just start flaunting herself around, and then I'll just go, "Oh!" and then a couple of people will look at you and just be like, "What the fuck, man? Like, what are you doing?"
That's it, right? Like it's that classic thing of like the dev team thinks of everything, where it's like, well, what would these people do if you boo to the wrong place? It's genius. That sounds like fun though. I need to go check out one of those shows.
It's so much fun, because you sit there for 10 minutes, and I basically forgot a few moments. I forgot I was playing a video game, because it's just like I'm just watching this performance, and then I just slowly got up out of my chair and walked out back into the city. I was like, oh yeah, that was just one kind of shop, one area, one tiny area of this giant city, of this giant world. It's like, holy hell, how am I ever going to finish this video game? And another point, I just started riding the tram for 20 minutes. Just sat in the tram. It was hilarious, because your horse tries to run up beside you, and it does that when you're on the tram as well. So you can see it on the cinematic camera, and the horse is just trailing behind the tram. And sometimes it'll run into someone or something like that. It's it is fantastic.
Have you lost a horse yet?
I have not lost a horse yet.
Oh, so I did. I got waylaid by some criminals because I had upset their kind of gang in their area, and they waylaid, and I found out that your horse can perma-die. So there's those revive things, but your horse can be killed permanently.
Yep.
And it was a sad, very, very, genuinely a sad time.
So did they kill your horse, or did you have to put it out of its misery?
They killed my horse. So if it had, so they... Because I thought I have a horse revive thing on me at all times.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not losing this horse, but they must have got it with a shotgun or something and blew one of its legs off. Oh. And so it was just dead. And I had an actual emotional response to my horse dying.
Oh man, that's rough. See, that's I love these little stories that emerge, things like that just emerge from this game. Have you encountered the guys who are just building? It's right near the start, and are just erecting this house for their father. They're just putting up the sort of walls for the.
I didn't go in and talk to them, but I know the house you mean. It's in Valentine, right? Right at the beginning.
Yeah, it's right near the start. Yeah, and then they're putting up these walls and stuff, and then they're idiots, so they basically break it, and the dad just starts chewing them out, sort of thing, for it, and and later on you go back and there's some people causing trouble. I won't say any more than that, but because it's a little bit spoilery. But there's some other stuff happening in that same area to do with that family and that house and things like that. So just so cool. Just things you stumble upon, and
but it's I'm gonna have more to say as I go through it. I'm not even I think I'm maybe 60-70% of the way through the story. So and I feel like I've been going for a long time. So. Yeah, I mean, we should definitely have a good chat about it at some stage. We'll get it up on the site and YouTube and whatnot, so we can really dig into it. And I suppose we should probably do a review as well.
Yeah.
I think it warrants that.
I definitely think it does. Yeah, I'll probably have to sink a wee bit more time into it, because I'm still barely scratched I'm still at the first camp, if that says anything. Because I know you move camps at some point, but I'm still at the first one. So. Yeah, I'm probably still early in the game, but we'll move on from Red Dead. Balthazar, you've been playing a few. I don't know, odd games. I would say not the usual fare. I suppose they're AAA, or one of them's AAA. But tell us about what you've been playing, man.
So it's been an odd time for games for me. Probably the most notable one I've been playing because it's fairly new is Call of Cthulhu. I've been playing it on PC.
I'm really keen to hear about this because on my trip to Japan, I played I'd not really heard of it. I heard of Call of Cthulhu, but I didn't really know what it was about. I played the tabletop RPG version of it, and that was a shitload of fun. So
yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So basically, imagine a tabletop RPG, but where everything is, already decided for you because it's a game that's been programmed to unfold one particular way, and so you actually don't have any of the freedom that you would like to have.
Yeah.
So this is not to be confused with Call of Cthulhu, the tabletop game, or Call of Cthulhu, the other game of the same name, which came out like 10 years ago.
Yeah. PlayStation
this
2,
new Call of Cthulhu, which is just the same name as everything else, is an odd one. So there's basically nothing to do in this game. I'm looking at the desktop icon, trying to hoping it gives me something. So essentially, you're a private detective.
How does it?
So you're a private detective. It's a first person detective game, basically.
Right.
Imagine the detective parts of the Batman Arkham games, but that someone stretched that out for 10 hours. So
I'm kind of into that.
So you think you're into it. Essentially, one of my biggest ones. So just as a kind of overview, it's a first-person detective game. You're a private detective. You get hired by a dude whose daughter killed herself because he believes that's not the case, and you're going to this place to find out why. I believe you're going to Darkwater. I don't remember. It's the same place you always go to in those games.
Yeah.
And it's basically just like a whaling village that's sort of all run down, and even though it's a whaling village, there's not been any whales for a long time, so everyone's kind of depressed, and there's not much going on.
They killed them all, I'm imagining.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Though this one does show a whale that's only recently deceased, and they didn't kill it; it just washed up on the shore.
Brilliant. You're in a whale.
Here you go.
village.
Here you go, guys.
Oh, where is it? Where's all the whales? And
They're
then
just
one
washing
turns
up for free.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
here they are.
Brilliant.
So yeah, you're investigating, and because it's Call of Cthulhu, you've got a sanity meter and stuff, and you can observe strange events happening that decrease your sanity, and if you go too crazy, then the strange events occur more often because they're hallucinations and stuff like that. I found that there's actually nothing real that happens. I didn't see my first thing until after I got exposed to a hallucinogenic substance. And then it was clearly a hallucination. So I haven't actually seen any, I've seen no evidence from my play. I played for probably 2-3 hours. So not a huge amount, but it feels like I've done a huge chunk of the game. It doesn't feel like it's that long. And yeah, so everything so far has been hallucinogen driven. It doesn't feel like any of it's actually in the world. It is just a normal world with just some weird people in it because they believe in weird gods and things. To be clear, none of these people appear to believe in the old gods like Cthulhu. They just have their own weird fisherman gods. And so yeah, you're kind of the core gameplay loop is walking, not interacting with anything, just walking. That's most of the game. Probably 90% of my playtime has just been walking. Aside from walking, sometimes you'll have a conversation with someone, and based on things you've found in the environment, conversations you've had with other people, you'll have more or less, dialogue options with other people you talk to. And sometimes it'll always show you that they're there, but they'll have a padlock over them or they'll be unlocked or whatever. There's also, it is an RPG-ish. So you have stats, which are all based on ways of talking to people. So you can either get really good at sort of just relating with people, so you can get them to open up through empathy or whatever, or you can be really forceful and just bully people into giving you the information you want. And so based on your various skills, you can get different outcomes. Some people are receptive to some and not others. Another skill you can level up is your hidden object skill, which is just your ability to see things that are out of place in the environment, which is an interesting one. And in my opinion, a complete waste of skill points to level up because those objects are in the world either way. Leveling up that skill just makes them stand out. But if you're doing your job and playing the game properly, you're going to find them anyway.
Investigate everything.
So, yeah. So that skill to me seems like a complete waste of points.
That's so often the way in those games, though. Like, even the tabletop versions of those games where there's a skill for, like, animal husbandry or something, and then you just don't come across any animals. So
there's also two skills which you can't level up with skill points. You have to find objects in the environment to level them up, which are medicine, and you have to find medical textbooks to level that up. And that's not what you'd think medicine. It's not like your ability to, I don't know, heal, because I don't know if there's any combat in the game. There's been nothing so far. It's basically like you can examine something that's dead and determine the cause of death based on how high your medical skill is and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one is your occult skill, which you can only level up by finding occult texts and stuff like that, which is another really weird one, because the only way to level it up is to find the occult texts, but you can only read the occult texts if you have a high enough occult skill. So that one's like, I don't know. It seems like to level it up, you need to find a thing that you only care about if you've leveled up that skill. So it's like its own little closed loop that doesn't really matter.
Does the game have anything going for it?
So it's got a really narrow field of view, and when you turn, there's really high motion blur, so you feel sick after playing it for about 20 minutes. That's cool. I guess that's to emulate the madness. Yep. The character models are really bad, and the lips don't synchronize with what they're saying at all. They just kind of feel like sometimes they don't even move when they talk. Their face is just like,
oh, that's like Spider-Man.
And they're just talking. Everyone, as well as the character models being bad, all the characters are just heinous to look at because they're all like super scarred and pockmarked and everything, and they're all just like, I think it's supposed to go for the creepy occult, but they're not. I know they're just regular dudes. They're just hideous. So that doesn't help. Even your main character, like, if you were in a different town, you might look at his silhouette and be like, hey, that dude looks like Hugh Jackman. But then you actually get close to him and you're like, oh, God, what is this monster?
He looks like Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. There's been no combat or anything so far. No. They introduced a stealth mechanic and then threw it away immediately.
Nintendo does that. So that's
sounds a bit half-baked.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
So basically, this game is just like... the thing is, I kind of knew going into it what I was getting. So a lot of people thought it was going to be like the old Call of Cthulhu game, which had a lot of combat in it and stuff. Like, you got a gun at one point and you were shooting the townsmen because they were trying to kill you, and you were shooting different old gods and stuff. And so a lot of people were upset by this game because it's just a investigative game. But I knew that, and I saw some people said, hey, if you just go into it wanting this, then you'll enjoy it. But there's too many other faults with it. Like, its lack of focus is its biggest fault, but it's not the majority of the fault. You know, while it is the biggest singular fault, there are so many other small faults that build up to something bigger than its lack of consistency or direction. And the fact that field of view is so narrow that it makes you feel sick after playing it for a short while, and there's no way to change it in the options. When I'm on PC in 2018, any game in 2018 on PC without a field of view slider should not be on PC. Like, they shouldn't put things on PC if they're not going to bother to actually put elements in them that people expect to be in a PC game.
So it's a stylistic choice by the developers then, right? If they haven't...
it must be. Since there's no option, it must be a stylistic choice that they just want your vision to be really narrow, as though you're wearing those like horse blinkers like that, and you're just walking around like this, and when you turn, if you turn a little bit this way, it only turns a little bit that way, but it's like you've just done that because the amount of blur and like swishing in the movement is just crazy. Yeah, so it makes everything look super frantic, even if you're just turning like a degree to the left.
Wow.
It looks like you've actually just turned 361 degrees to the left, kind of thing.
So rush out and buy it.
Yeah, I cannot recommend this game to anyone. Full stop.
What possessed you to buy it, Balthazar?
Buy is a strong word. We are always looking for, Hannah's always looking for spooky games to watch me play because she likes the scares and stuff, but doesn't like playing them.
Yep, fair enough.
There's been no scares. Like, I'm just walking through. I've literally, like, you know, you get that thing where, like, because typically when I play them, I'll go semi-slowly, because while I'm not someone who gets jump scared or anything like that, normally, like, they just don't, they either get you or they don't, and they don't seem to get me. I tend to go through those games slowly because I want to contribute to the atmosphere that the game's already trying to build, kind of thing, so that those things are more... I'm just sprinting through this game because nothing is happening. Like, I'm just hoping that if I spend an hour running through it instead of walking slowly, I might find something in that 1 hour. And there's just... Also, it doesn't help that his sprint is... You're moving maybe a pixel faster a minute than his walk. It's like... Tell you what, his sprint is like... You know when you see people... You pull up to a crossing. You're in a car and you pull up to a crossing and they do that thing where they lift their arms up and go like that to be like, I'm hurrying, but they're moving at the exact same speed. Everyone in the world does it. That's his sprint. You're not actually going any faster. It's just giving you the illusion that
the animation looks like,
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great example. Yeah.
It's a terrible game. I'm going to push through it because there's got to be more. There's got to be something. At some point, there has to be something worthy of the game being called Call of Cthulhu.
So let me ask you this, Balthazar, for some, because I love investigative games and puzzly games and things like that. I have played through many a CSI video game, and I've enjoyed them all. Am I going to be able to get something out of this game? If that's my...
If your favourite element about detective things is the fact that a character finds two seemingly random objects in an environment and then somehow not only knows exactly what transpired in the environment, but the exact positioning and appearances of all the characters that he's never seen before within that scene, then you'll find a lot to love in this game.
So it's the vanishing of Ethan Carter without the game mechanic of figuring out what actually happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's always, that as a singular thing has always just driven me a bit crazy. I'm like, all right, I get it. You can piece together from these what happened. But how is it that you know exactly who these people were when you've never met them before? How do you know, and exactly that this person was standing here if all this person was doing was witnessing the event? They didn't even interact with it. Like, how, there's a lot of that where it's just like, this makes, I don't know how you finding a painting with a scratch on it and a candle on the floor allowed you to piece together a 2-minute narrative about marital troubles. Like, I don't know what's going on in this scene. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll find something. Honestly, the coolest thing I've done so far in that game is put together a winch by finding a couple of pieces in an environment, and then I had to put them into place in the right order to be able to use it. That's the highlight of that game. I do enjoy
that, but that definitely shouldn't be the highlight.
That's it so far, the highlight. And then I was really disappointed when after putting it together, I just used it once for 2 seconds to open a door. And then that was it. Then I went through the door. And then it was back to everything else again. Yeah, it's, no.
Well,
no.
You've been playing...
Maybe when I finish it, I'll recommend something about it. But right now, no, steer clear.
I'm intrigued. But you've been playing something slightly more jovial. Or at least watching someone play.
Yeah, so I've not been playing it. Yeah, Hannah got Let's Go Eevee, one of the 2 new Pokemon games, and I kind of want to talk about it to dispel some myths about the games. Now, I haven't watched a huge amount, but I'm also not going to get it. The reason why I didn't get it, I wanted to watch it to see if I wanted to get it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because I had the same thought. I would, yeah. But the reason why is I think I had the same assumption that a lot of people did, which was that it was basically bringing Pokemon Go to a console.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
It's not. It's not that. It is a real Pokemon game. You have your party of Pokemon, you go around, you battle people, you collect your gym badges. It has all the stuff from regular Pokemon games. So if you just want another Pokemon game, it is. But there are some changes. So one of them is you don't fight wild Pokemon. You see them in the environment. So this is a refreshing thing for some people. You're not going to get random battles constantly where you're just walking through tall grass and all of a sudden you're attacked. You see them walking through the grass and you can choose to walk up to them and engage them. But if you engage them, you don't battle them. It's just the Pokemon Go catching game. So, and it's the Pokemon Go experience system where when you catch it, it gives you candies for that Pokemon, which to evolve that Pokemon kind of thing.
So you have to go
it's
out and
hybridizing
exactly.
So it's hybridizing the two, and it is taking, in a way, it is taking the best elements from both, because random battles was always the thing in Pokemon games that was like, I just want to get through this cave without having to use a super repel every 5 seconds kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just make it out the other side. So making it so that you don't have to have those anymore is a good move. However, replacing all wild Pokemon battles, like turning it into you see it and you choose to engage it, I think that's a great move. I think that should be the direction that the series is heading in. But then changing that encounter into just the Pokemon Go throwing your Pokeballs at it and not actually battling it is like, I don't think that's where they should be going.
I don't love the idea of just farming Pokemon to get candies to make them stronger. Like that.
Nah.
I assume they get battle experience to get stronger in
Yeah,
the current evolution.
Yeah,
and
so in the
candies
actual
of it
battling, they all get the experience. And also, you get chains, it looks like, with the wild encounters. So if you catch the same one twice in a row, then the second one gives you double the stuff, and then the third one gives you double again, and then double again. So you can really quickly farm it. It's not like so you can get it really quickly if you just focus on farming one thing.
So it's like a combo. You can do like a combo with Pokemon.
Yeah, but as far as I can see, that just contributes to evolving it. It's not actually leveling the Pokemon up to make it battle ready kind of thing. So it's still like you're going to have to go out and chuck an XP share on it and put it, the 6th slot in your party until it's a reasonable level to fight kind of thing. But yeah, it is, other than that, it is a full proper Pokemon game. It's really interesting to see how far they've come. Like she walked into a restaurant or whatever and you could see the food on the plates and tell what it was. And it's like just thinking, this is a Pokemon game. Like, this is a remake again of Pokemon Red and Blue, essentially, like the original journey. And so it's cool again to be like, I remember when you walked into this place and it was just a bunch of circles on squares for the plates on tables.
Yeah.
And now it's actually like full, 2.5D, that isometric view, and you can tell what the food is on the plate, and it actually looks pretty good. And stuff. It's like, cool, this is the best way to experience that classic Red and Blue journey, but I still feel like it's... Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to spell, like, I'm not going to get Let's Go Pikachu, I don't think. Maybe I'll see something that will change my mind. I've heard the game becomes a bit different post getting all the gym badges when you're going on, like, your legendary collections and stuff like that for all those Pokemon. Apparently it changes quite a bit, and it's quite a cool journey there. So maybe I'll see something there that's like, actually, I want to give it a go. Or maybe I'll see it on sale at some point and just feel like reliving Red and Blue, but slightly more streamlined.
That's the thing that makes me kind of want to dive into it, is like, the nostalgia factor of those old adventures. But I think...
And it has streamlined it a lot. Like, you are just going kind of trainer battle, next town, gym battle, trainer kind of... It's made it a lot less faffing about in between. And there's just different elements as well, if it's your sort of thing. Like, you can get costumes for yourself and for your Pokemon, and you can just, like, dress up and change everything. Like, you can be one of those trainers. You know how, like, you're walking around and you see the Poke fan trainers, and it'll just be a dude dressed as a Slowbro, and all his Pokemon are Slowbro? Like, you can do that if you want in this one. Like, you can be a thing. So, yeah, I did just want to talk about it, even though I haven't played it, simply to dispel the myth that it's just Pokemon Go on Switch. It's not. It is a real proper Pokemon RPG game. It has just incorporated some of those Go elements.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced. I don't know. I guess I'm just waiting for that full Pokemon console proper
Thing they
thing.
said they're gonna show next year. Yeah.
Yeah, 2019 thing. Yeah. But oh, it sounds better than I thought it would be. I thought it was fully just going to be that farming Pokemon Go, style sort of thing. But that's a wee bit better. Is that made by the Pokemon Company and it's made by the usual devs and everything?
I believe it is. Yeah, I think it's but I think it's Game Freak and Niantic. Like, I think it's both of them.
Oh, okay. So Niantic actually had some input from.
I believe they did. Yeah, or at least even if they didn't help make it, I believe they're credited because it is like the wild Pokemon catching thing is theirs. Like, there's no like we've taken it from Pokemon Go. It's the same background and everything. Like, it is exactly the Pokemon Go catching thing in this game. So Niantic are credited in it somewhere. I don't know if it's because they helped develop it or if it is just because they gave them that element.
Nice. Well, anything else you've been playing, Balthazar? Or...
I've been playing Warframe because the Fortuna update came out, and Abe, you got to try it because of the skateboarding.
I do love some skateboarding.
It's amazing. Just grinding along, pipes and stuff, and then doing double, triple back. Like, imagine it's like Tony Hawk if Tony Hawk was also a ninja. So it's like
good.
So it's like it's not just like basically the laws of gravity almost don't apply. So it's not like you're trying to cram as many tricks as you can in your one jump before you hit the ground. It's like your one jump takes you 30 feet in the air, so do as many damn tricks as you want before you hit the ground. Like, it's really fun just racing around Venus on a hoverboard.
That's cool. There was a game called Airblade back in the day on PlayStation 2. That was the quintessential, the go-to hoverboarding game. I don't think it's been done better since. So if Warframe can equal or better that, I'm definitely in.
I've heard them used comparatively to each other. So yeah.
Wow. That's
someone redid the PS2, the like Airblade box art with Warframe on it. So,
oh man, this is my kind of people. I haven't heard anyone mention Airblade since 15 years or whenever the hell it came out.
Yeah. No, they made the connection straight away, and that. Yeah. So no, seriously, like, I recommend it just because again, like, you've got a laptop now that will be able to handle it, and it's free, and it's coming on Switch in a couple of days. So
Nice.
You can just download it, give it a crack. I mean, that's probably for you the way to get it on Switch, and then you just have a portable like semi Tony Hawk simulator on Switch that
that's
you
true.
just pull out whenever you want. So
that'll definitely scratch my Tony Hawk itch because God knows Sony's not bloody helping with that, not putting Tony Hawks on the PlayStation Classic. So, right. In that case, I've got a couple of things to talk about. The first one, apart from Red Dead 2, which as I mentioned, we'll do a dedicated section on at some point. But I want to talk about a wee iPad game. Last week, Balthazar, you talked about Citus, which was a mobile game, and we don't really talk about mobile games much on here. Mainly, I think, because a lot of them aren't worth talking about, and we don't really play very many of them, I suppose. But I bought a game. It's not a free to play game. I bought it for £1, $1.69 New Zealand, and that game is called The Room. This was released in 2012, and it's developed by Fireproof Games, who's a British company. And it's basically a puzzler in the truest possible sense of the word. You are unlocking puzzle boxes for the entirety of the game. You unlock a puzzle box, and that will lead you to another puzzle box. You unlock that puzzle box, and it's sort of like that Russian doll situation of puzzle boxes. Thing is, these are beautifully crafted, ornate puzzle boxes. It's just a joy to look at these things, and you can sort of use your finger and rotate around them, and there's mini puzzles all over these puzzle boxes, and sort of hidden in crevices and things like that. And it's just, there's never any text explaining what to do or anything like that. It's always like a cog or a switch or some sort of trinket that's in a certain shape, and you're just picking things up and putting them in holes and twisting things and pulling things and slowly moving through these puzzle boxes. And I just love it. I think it's fantastic.
It sort of sounds like kind of The Witness with puzzle boxes instead of line puzzles and no walking around.
Sort of,
you walk
yeah.
around?
Not really. You're on a sort of you're on a fixed camera in that you can, if you double tap on something, you'll zoom in on it, and then if you you use two fingers and go backwards, you can zoom out and you can scroll sort of pan around the world by just swiping, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you can't move around freely, but you can cycle around things and over things and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. They got a nice website as well, really well put together.
Yeah, it's a BAFTA nominated game, which I didn't realize. And it's
just a shame that you have to specify game, otherwise the entire page of Google search results is just Tommy
Wiseau. Yeah. That's really unfortunate naming, but.
So did you grab it on tablet? Did you say, Ed?
I did.
Because it looks like it's on Switch as well.
Yeah, I think it's on everything. Yeah, it just recently came out on Switch, and I think that there's a new, because there's 4 or 5 of these games now. The Room. So I finished number 1. I'm playing number 2 now, and that's all in the space of a day. I finished the first one. I was like, that was amazing, and I downloaded the second one straight away. And I just think I love it. It's even got a story in there. It's pretty strange. It talks about idea of discovering this new element that allows you into different realities, and gets all a bit metaphysical, and you have this sort of looking glass that you look through at puzzles, and it reveals hidden symbols that you then use perspective to match up and things like that. It's got this sort of weird. There's like Stonehenge comes into it at one point and stuff, and it's all very like mysterious. It's got that mystique and that just like sort of strangeness about it. But even if that wasn't there, I wouldn't really care that much. It's just icing on the cake, really, because I just find the game so damn fun and low stakes, and it's just one of those take your time, plod along. Every now and then you'll get a really satisfying click or chunk or something like that, and something will unlock in the most beautifully animated fashion. Like, the box will just unfold into 2 parts, and then those parts will unfold into 3 spiky edges, and then you grab each edge and go whoop and unfold it like yourself. It's wonderfully tactile, that video game. I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, I'm playing the sequel at the moment. The first one was it's not long. I mean, I paid £1 for it, so I'm not arguing. I'm not complaining. Sorry, it's 2 hours maybe a little bit less.
Do you think it's? I do wonder. Like, it sounds like that tactile nature of it is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Do you think it would work on? I suppose the Switch has a touch screen as well, so
I imagine it would force you to play it handheld and use the touch screen, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. In terms of, you mean docked? Would it work docked?
Yeah, I just wonder, like, if you find that tactile nature of the game is sort of the big draw card for you. I just wonder how effective it would be on some different platforms.
Yeah.
Like, if you're playing it on PlayStation or whatever, it probably wouldn't be quite.
Well,
the same,
I know that Switch does have games that, like, you're not allowed to play them dock. Like, it won't allow you. It locks up and says, please remove this from the dock. Citus is one of them. Citus is actually on Switch, and it forces you, like, it's only touch control. You have to play it with just... It also recommends when you launch it that you detach the Joy-Cons from the side and just hold the screen. And use it to tap on, kind of thing. So I imagine it's probably like that. It won't allow you to play it docked. It just wants you to play it handheld.
Well, the Switch also has that cool functionality embedded in the Joy-Cons, right? Where they, it can simulate certain sensations. The thing with the ice cubes and all that. What was that terrible game? 1-2 Switch.
HD Rumble.
Is that what they're calling it? HD Rumble. Yeah. Man, that's a 90s style naming convention. HD Rumble. Yeah. Amazing. Makes zero sense.
Well, think about the Rumble packs from Nintendo 64.
Yeah. I was thinking that. Yeah, and also high definition Rumble. What the fuck does that mean? What are you on about, Nintendo? But yeah,
we just assume the HD is high definition, knowing Nintendo. It's probably just like highly demonstrative Rumble or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love this game. It's just. It's just so British. It's like the gaming equivalent of going into one of those like stores that suits a proper gentleman. You go in there and you buy this lovely pair of brogues, and you buy like a nice suit and a top hat and a cane, and everything's just so pristine looking and immaculate and just sparkling and wooden with gold clasps and things. It's just like the gaming equivalent of going into a British high street tailor or something like that. It's fantastic. I really, really enjoy it. On a little bit of a different note, the other game that I've been playing, which I actually played for a review, is a game called Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry. And from the title, you can kind of guess what this game is, really.
Did you guys, just out of curiosity, play the first Leisure Suit Larry?
Did I? No, that was before my time. It was 1987, I think. The first Leisure Suit Larry. Okay. Yeah, it was a long time. I think it was like Amiga or something. Like, it was a very long time ago.
My granddad had it on floppy disk.
Nice.
Your granddad.
Which is the best name for media for that sort of game.
Yeah.
I just got old Leisure Suit Larry on the floppy disk.
Oh, amazing. Man. That's the kind of caliber of jokes that are in this video game.
Mm-hmm.
Even worse than that, to be honest. Like, it's okay. Here's the thing. It looks great. The art is beautiful. It's super high def. It's hand painted. Every scene has been gorgeously realized. Someone sat there and painted all these little details of things everywhere and made something look really disgusting, like bubbling and oozing, and it looks gorgeous. Animation is flawless. I never had a frame drop. Everything looked great. There was a few times where you'd hand something to someone and it would just disappear and then appear in their hand. All the usual things that come along with that. But that's where it ends. The sound was amazing. But apart from those sort of technical aspects, the game is pretty much a nightmare. It's not a good video game, and I didn't enjoy my time with it. So Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry is a point-and-click adventure. My go-to, like one of my favorite genres. It has all the usual things of the point-and-click adventure. You move throughout scenes. You pick up objects. You can combine those objects in your inventory to solve puzzles or give to people, and make progress in the game. Unfortunately, as with my Broken Age review, which is the first review OCG ever did, which I awarded a 4 out of 10, Leisure Suit Larry has very little internal logic in its puzzles. So a lot of the time you'll be... I'll give an example. So there's one point where you're pinning band posters up for someone around the city, and you can sort of see where you're supposed to do it because it has a sort of outline, a sort of shaded area on the wall where you should hang these posters. Okay, cool, that's fine. So you go about, you do most of them. You get to one in a bathroom, and there's this purple ooze on the wall, and you put the poster up, and it's just sort of hanging halfway down. And Larry says something like, "Oh, it's too moist in the bathroom to put the poster up fully," and then he giggles and says, "Haha, moist." Like that. This is the level of writing we're talking about in this video game.
The best level of writing.
It's a shocker. Anyway, so you think, what can I do? I've got some toilet paper in my inventory. I could wipe the moisture off the wall. That could work. Try that. He's like, "No, I don't think those things go together." I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'll go and talk to the bartender. Maybe now I know this information, he'll clean that up for me. No dialogue options for that, nothing like that. 20 minutes trying to figure this thing out, trying to combine things in my inventory, whatever. Try a piece of cheese. I don't know, maybe that'll work. Who knows? No, it will not. This is a brick bathroom, right? The solution is, and spoilers for one puzzle from Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry, the solution is you have a bunch of throwing darts for the game darts that you've picked up. You stick a dart through the poster into the brick wall, and that pins it up. And that's the solution. I was so mad when I... Oh
man.
It's like these puzzles have not been thought through, and it's a real shame because every object, everything has so much care taken to the design of it and the look of it, and the sound, the gross sounds that they make and things when you're combining them, and they have little different sort of icons when you've combined things. They look like done up with duct tape and look all ratchet and stuff like that, but It's just the puzzles just fall absolutely flat. And then on
It
top
sounds
of
like
that,
it's really technically well done.
it is. It's
the
just
writing
the design of
and
the
the
game
puzzles.
is extremely poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real shame because it's like the humor is what it is. You know what you're getting in for with the Leisure Suit Larry game. It's basically the equivalent of playing one of the straight to DVD American Pie films.
Right.
Not the caliber of the first three, the caliber of Beta House and Bandcamp and all the other ones Naked Mile I think was another one. Man, I've seen way too many of those. It's the caliber of that humor. It's not for everyone, and not everyone's going to appreciate when you pick up a secondhand dildo and he sort of for some reason gives it a sniff and he's like, oh, it smells like cheese, and you're like, oh god, that's like, I really didn't need that in my life. Like, there was multiple times throughout this game where I sort of just stopped and wondered if my time would be better spent doing anything else.
Anything at all.
But as I mentioned, I was reviewing this for indie game website, so I motored through and finished it. But yeah, ended up giving it a 3 or a 4. I can't remember. 3 or a 4.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
I assume out of 10. Yeah.
Wow. Definitely not out of 5.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, out of 10. So do not recommend Leisure Suit Larry Wet Dreams Don't Dry. If you want to look at some pretty and gross details, be my guest. If you want to spend, I looked at the price of this game after it because I got it for free because I was reviewing it, and I looked at the price and it was like £20 or something. I was like, not even remotely worth that. It's just don't no, don't try, don't buy. Larry. Just don't even give it the time of day. But yeah, that's everything I've been playing. So there's been a wee bit of news. We don't do news too often because it's a bit predictable. Everyone reads the news. Everyone in the gaming community generally reads the news and knows what's going on, and you don't need bloody 3 Kiwis telling you about it. But there's a few things that have shaken the gaming landscape. And we did just want to, voice our thoughts on it. I want to hear your guys' opinions on these things more than anything. So the first thing is the amazingly grotesque Detective Pikachu trailer that came out.
I'm okay with it.
I'm excited. I'll go on record. I'm looking forward to that movie. I'm really looking forward to that movie.
They got me the second it opened, and it sounded like it was Bill Nye doing the voiceover of like "Welcome to Rent City" or whatever. I'm like, I'm in.
So basically, the premise is, Ryan Reynolds voices Pikachu for one, which I don't think anyone saw that coming. If anyone saw a gritty Detective Pikachu movie coming at all. But the premise is basically Pikachu, this kid meets Pikachu, and the kid is the only one who can hear him. Otherwise, he just sounds like he's doing his normal Pika Pika thing to everyone else. That's as far as I know. That's all the details I know about this movie. That's the premise.
I gathered from it as well, the kid's family died maybe, or got kidnapped or something, and there's some conspiracy.
Yeah. It's a very strange tone for a Pokemon movie, and that's why I'm so excited, because I love when someone does something weird that just stirs people up a wee bit.
I think that's it. Like, I think there seems to be two camps. The reason this is sort of interesting for me is it's quite divisive. Like, it seems that a lot of people on the internet are, whoa, no, this is too much. This isn't going to work for me. And whether it's the fact that they've changed the tone or the Pokemon are fully realized in CG, people tend to be picking the thing that they are not super stoked on and just kind of really going for that.
That's the internet.
I'm willing. Yeah, totally. It's the internet. Exactly. I'm willing to give this thing the best shot that it can be given. I'm a little bit concerned that it won't be great, but
me too.
There's but I think I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm excited for the fact that they're changing the kind of tone going for something a little bit more gritty. Like imagine if they went whole hog on it and they went full like Batman, Batman Dark Knight type stuff on it, and was just like this, because the Pokemon universe could be pretty dark if you really wanted it to be.
Oh yeah,
like we captured these.
You're
animals.
enslaving monsters and forcing them to fight each other for your amusement. Like that's the premise
inherently.
Of Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like dog fighting, right? It's like
basically, yeah,
dog fight. Yeah.
Except you keep the dog locked in this little thing about yay big. Anytime you're not making it fight.
Yeah, you deconstruct it genetically so that you can trap it in a tiny ball.
Yeah.
It's I think this is one of those situations of it's just one of those fuck off internet scenarios.
Yeah.
Where if you look on the internet, people are like, but this and this. But genuinely, every single real life person I've spoken to about it is looking forward to seeing this film. This is very much a thing where everyone wants to see it, but because it's the internet, everyone has to pretend they don't. And inevitably, when it comes out, say, I called it was going to be shit, even if it's good.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to enjoy things anymore. This is like the whole, like everything, like anything on the internet at all, I'm not allowed to say Halo 2 was my favourite Halo game. Because it was Halo 1, because it was the first and it was the best, and you're wrong if you don't agree. It's that scenario. It's going to be a shit movie. It's not. I think it's going to be good. I'm probably going to enjoy it. But it's going to, in history on the internet, be remembered as that time they shittily tried to make a live-action Pokemon film. Because just no one's going to accept if it's good.
I just want to go on the record and say Halo 2 is also my favourite Halo game.
Rightly so. Yeah, it's the best one.
It is.
It's got Ryan Reynolds in it. He's good times. Like, he's good fun.
I think the big thing for me that makes it look good is from the trailer, it doesn't look like they've tried to make a live-action Pokemon film. It looks like they've just tried to make a film, and it just happens to have live-action Pokemon.
They shoved Pokemon into it.
And so that means they've just written a film, which from the get-go means it has a higher chance of being good.
Yeah.
Because it's not specifically like this is a Pokemon movie. It's like, hey, we got an idea for a movie. It kind of ties in with the fact that Pikachu became a detective last year. Let's do it. I
mean, there's so many possibilities for, like, I'm trying to remember in the games / the anime, Giovanni has bodyguards. Are they Marchokes? Am I remembering that correctly? His sort of like big,
I think so.
Broody, beefy bodyguard dudes. That's a cool idea. Imagine like a bunch of Marchoke bouncers or something outside a club, sort of thing. Like, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be great.
Yeah, I do enjoy I actually quite like the stylistic choice they've gone for as well in terms of the animation of the Pokemon. Like, was it one of you guys who mentioned that it sort of reminded you of those like
deviant arts
people had. Yeah, exactly. Those DeviantArt kind of fan versions of the Pokemon that people would do where they were quite gritty.
Honestly, from the trailer, this is my favourite depiction of Charizard. I've always hated that he's supposed to be this badass dragon, but he's just fat with tiny T-Rex arms. And then in this trailer, he was buff. He was ripped. Did you see that dude's pecs? Yeah. He was ready to tear you up.
He's been on the roids, that Charizard.
I'm hoping, because it like thematically in universe isn't too much of a leap and would just work for the movie, that the villains are still just Team Rocket has evolved beyond Pokemon trafficking and now it's human trafficking and they took the kids' parents. There's just Giovanni and Team Rocket up to it again.
Yeah.
Just Taken, just the storyline of Taken but with Pokemon.
Also, I hope Officer Jenny's a badass in it and just shooting people.
Yeah. I wonder if Ash
because that's what we need.
I wonder if there'll be like I think if
he'll probably be a celebrity in the world or something.
Yeah,
like he is the Pokemon master or whatever. He finally did it, guys.
Or when I stopped listening to internet criticism of this is when someone was like, Jigglypuff's too fluffy. And then a whole bunch of people got on board with that and I was like, fuck off.
My favourite thing I saw online about Jigglypuff was just Jigglypuff looks like she's going to cut a bitch. And then the reply was, so just like the anime then.
Yeah, she does with the pen, right? It's like draws on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that movie. This is the first trailer that, like, I don't watch trailers generally at all. And this is the first trailer I've watched more than once. I watched it 3 times, this trailer, just because there's so many cool little, not Easter eggs, but Pokemon that you don't see on the first run around and things like that. It's just, it's really good. And even if it is a clusterfuck, I'm excited for that. It'll be a great time. They can't.
There's no way it could. Go on.
I was going to say they can't shit on the memory of Pokemon for me because I've kind of that stays in its own little box. Red and blue and to some extent gold and silver have been in their own box, sealed with concrete for years, and nothing can get into that.
They're in a time capsule. They're in their own time capsule.
Exactly.
The ground. Yep.
Yeah. But that's going to be interesting. Do we have a release date on that? Probably not.
I think it was just 2019.
It's 2019, yeah. But no, we'll keep a close eye on that. So the other big news is that Sony have recently announced that they are not attending E3 2019, which is huge news. The first time, I believe, since E3 started that Sony has not attended. 24 years or something like that. Just crazy. Like, I mean, there's a variety of theories floating around as to why this is. Not enough games is the main one, and I would probably agree with that.
That's kind of what Sean Layden came out and said, right? He was
Did he?
Like, hey, we want to. I'm pretty sure there was a quote from him saying, we feel that we are just not going to have enough to, we don't want to kind of go in there saying that we're going to have a bunch of stuff for people to see and then deliver a lackluster conference, which, maybe lesson learned from last.
It'll be hard.
I was going to say, just bring back the dude deep throating that wind instrument for 20 minutes.
It'll be hard to go worse than their press conference from this year. Like, that was pretty balls.
I think I might be the only person on the planet who enjoyed that wind, that flout. Fluke
I enjoyed it for all the wrong reasons. I was having a great time.
They need to just... I think they could get away with it for one more year, not doing that, but just do the whole... They just need one thing to show. They show their first thing, and then they cut to the interlude and just forget to cut back afterwards.
That was... And then they had a trailer. They had an ad for Black Ops 4. It was brutal. I was like, an ad in the middle of your conference? What is this? Yeah, experiment failed.
Yeah.
But I mean,
maybe
they don't have enough ammo, right? Really, right? They've got Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2. Anything else I'm missing there, boys?
And I feel like as amazing as he is, as much as I love Hideo Kojima, he's probably the worst person to work with when it comes to things like E3, because they're going to be like, "Can we show something?" And he'll just be like,
"Yeah."
Well,
I'm not ready to reveal anything else about the game yet. You can show the old trailers again. Like, he's got to be impossible when it comes to things like E3. Right? So we need to give them something. Nah.
He's like actually writing some book that's going to have a QR code in the back of it to a new Death Stranding trailer or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's some. Yeah. That's what Kojima does. It's always got to be crazy and esoteric, and we love him for it.
A QR code in the back of the book's too easy. You'd have to like fold the pages in a specific way to assemble the QR
like
code.
A Mad Magazine.
It'll be a book of haikus about like transcending your physical form, and if you take the 8th letter from each haiku and string them backwards across all the haikus in the book, it'll give you the location of a lockbox in Tokyo that you then need to open, which gives you the instructions on how you fold the book to see the QR code. Yeah. Something like that, something far removed. Like, yeah. But anyway, it's funny, my initial thing with this announcement when I first read, like, Sony not going to be at E3, was I kind of did the internet thing where I assumed the worst, and I thought, Sony just thinks they've outgrown it. Like, Sony thinks they're too big for it. They're trying to transcend and become like a rock star type thing. Where we don't need E3 sort of thing. But Yeah, the more I thought about it, and Abe, you mentioned that you were like, no, I think they probably just don't have much to show. I think that's probably just the reason, which is kind of like, I think that kind of makes sense. Like, you don't want to have a conference that's just full of Madden, Madden trailers. So.
Well,
it's funny as well, as someone...
EA's got its own
yeah, they show them all already.
Yeah.
As someone who's not super enthused by Sony announcements anyway, I think I took an entirely different initial thought process anyway. Like you guys, would have been thinking like, oh, I wonder why they're not going, whatever. My first thing when I heard that was, who's taking their spot? Like who's going to be showing stuff? That was the first thing I was wondering about, because I was like, oh, cool, I never really cared about Sony, but who's maybe someone I do care about is going to take their spot and start talking about releases.
That is an interesting point. Like,
who's the next biggest publisher? Because we've...
Yeah, no, I couldn't think of who it would be who's not already there in some...
We've got...
What about GOG? CDPR and GOG? Imagine that. A conference of, like, indie games from GOG.
That would be amazing. But I think... Yeah.
Maybe they'll have enough to show, and Nintendo will step out of the treehouse and step on the main stage again.
No, I wouldn't count on Nintendo.
Enough. Because for them, the reason they started doing the treehouse was because they did their direct thing to, show all the trailers and everything, and they did their announcements on their own schedule. But if there's a slot again, and because they've got a lot of stuff people want to see at the moment in development, they may have enough to fill a stage show again.
Yeah, especially given that their directs have just been all Smash.
Yeah.
Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Nothing else, just Smash Bros. Which is fine, but
72 characters in that game. It's outrageous.
They've got did you guys see the Nintendo announcement recently? What was it? They have a projected release date for Metroid Prime 4, but they don't want to tell anyone about it. That's the thing. That was the announcement. They have a date. Yeah. It's like they have a date, but they're not going to tell us what it is. And that was a whole article. Like, it was Reggie. It's Reggie's fault. It's always Reggie's fault. He's like, oh yeah, no, we have a date, but I don't want to tell anyone when it is.
Oh man,
that's so dumb. It's so dumb.
I like how, did you guys see the other thing he said, which cracked me up, was he's like, oh, I've been playing Smash Bros. Ultimate, like, waiting for when it comes out. And I've been playing Ridley, and he's like, I'm terrible at fighting games, but I'm playing a character who's going to be new to the series so that no one's played him. So for a brief window when the game first launches, I will be the best person in the world at that character, and it will be the only time I'm good at a fighting game.
Awesome. That's a good call.
Reggie's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty crack up, because he's a massive, like, he's so Nintendo shill. It's incredible. But like he works for the company. He's got to be that. But like he doesn't try and hide that. Like he's like, fake, doing all the usual bullshit where you'd be like, amazing! I can't believe Nintendo's coming out with this thing. Da 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 da. But he's also just this. He's the embodiment of Nintendo, because he's half this massive corporate monster, and then there's the other half, this completely unpredictable human being who just comes out with his most bizarre things. It's just fantastic.
The thing about
he's
Reggie,
just the embodiment of like childhood whimsy, but with a suit on.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say he seems like a kind of a child that's just been given their dream job. Like, here you go, mate. Like you can just be the head of Nintendo and just have a great time with video games all the time. And he just can't believe his luck. He's kind of just like. Oh my god! Like that in my mind, that's Reggie. It's great. It's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, actually, on a similar note, did you guys watch the Xbox XO 2018 conference thing that they had recently? I didn't even know it was a thing, and then it popped up. So Xbox had a conference. I'm not sure where it was. Oh, it was Mexico, actually.
Probably on a boat.
It wasn't on a boat this time. But Xbox had a conference called XO18. It might be the first one, I'm not sure. But it was in Mexico, and like Xbox has been accused of having people paid to cheer in the audience and all that sort of stuff before. This was taking that to a whole new extreme. Like, these people were cheering so they were cheering for everything. The crowd were cheering for everything. It was insane. And the crowd were also mic'd up. So anytime the crowd cheered, they would cheer over the people talking. So you you didn't end up being able to hear a lot of it. and also it was hilarious because you could sort of, when I started watching, I was like, are these people, have they been paid to do this? What? And there was a sort of a high shot at one point, a high camera shot, and you saw this person just down in the bottom corner going like this and leading like he was going like this and like getting people to like.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was a shocker. And then the nail in the coffin was when they brought out can't remember his name, the Square Enix guy, the Kingdom Hearts guy, the main head honcho behind Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. And
he was he doesn't speak very good English, so he was speaking Japanese and they were translating it. And before it was even translated, the whole crowd was like, yeah, like they can't all know Japanese. Like it's not statistically improbable that they all know Japanese.
Maybe they just all recognize Nomura instantly, and they're like, "Whoa!"
They like, but
a rare public appearance.
Yeah, but they were cheering after every time he finished talking and before the translation got in there. I was just like, have no idea what he just said. Like you. It's
interesting
brutal.
How that hype has kind of become a commodity in gaming, eh? Like, we need the hype. The hype drives sales. Like, we'll do everything we can to produce this feeling that people are excited for it, because then other people will get excited.
Yes, that mob mentality. Yeah.
It's a strange thing. Yeah.
They also showed they showed a wee bit of Crackdown 3. Terry Crew stuff, that's all funny and well and good. They showed some actual gameplay this time of Crackdown 3, and generally it looks fine. It looks what I imagined Crackdown 3 to look like, but their whole thing about their cloud destruction, that was the big gimmick of Crackdown 3. They were talking about, we're going to have everything destructible because we're going to use the cloud and be able to give you more processing power.
Harness the power of other Xboxes.
Exactly, yeah. This whole like Skynet of Xboxes. But so when everything started crumbling, like people were blowing stuff up and it was crumbling, whatever, then just the destruction and the rubble and that just disappears. It's just gone. So it reminded me of like an early Xbox 360 game or a late original Xbox game, in that I thought the rubble, like with this sort of power, I would have imagined that all that information would have been able to stay on the screen. Like it just disappeared. It's just terrible.
So like a building falls down and then it just disappears.
And it just like the rubble just disappears. It's like you never did anything. Huh. It's just not looking great in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see.
Disappointing.
So there's one more piece of news that we were going to talk about, and Balthazar, you knew about this. I didn't even know about this, so you go ahead, man.
Yeah, I don't honestly even know how I found out about it, but typical internet outrage culture. I was enraged by it, which is just that Sony have put out a new model of PS4 Pro, aptly named the PS4 Pro CUH7200. And it's basically just a new model number, but they were pretty sly because they put it out and they didn't. I mean, it's common for devices for their model number to change throughout their life cycle and it not mean anything. It's just, the batch that they were manufactured in or what have you. But these models are actually superior to the standard PS4 Pro. They have a new CPU in them, which is better. They have more efficient cooling in them, and their construction is slightly different because there were a lot of reports of the current PS4 Pros, basically their performance diminishing over extended play sessions because as they heated up, they just started to slow down a bit. So they changed the design slightly of how it was all put together. They put a better fan in there, and they put a CPU in there which generated less heat as well, but is actually also a better model, so a more powerful CPU. To fix that issue so that now you won't notice any kind of stuttering or performance issues over extended play sessions. But the fact that they effectively fixed something that was a complaint from the community and then also put in a more powerful CPU, but just snuck it out and didn't bother to tell anyone. Like, there is a better model of Pro. You could go out today and buy a brand new PS4 Pro and not get the best PS4 Pro on the market because you just didn't know that you need to look for a specific model number on the box. And if you don't get that one, you're getting an inferior PS4 Pro to what you could buy for the same price.
What's the point of them not telling people? I'm trying to figure it out. Like, what's...
I think because
No,
if they
no
told
idea.
people all of the PS4 Pros that have currently shipped out to stores wouldn't get sold, right? And they lose a bunch of money because
That'll be it. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how I feel about it, because it sort of makes sense in some ways. Like, you want a good product to be out there, but you also don't want to lose money from like a business perspective. It's dumb. It's it is what it is. But I don't know.
The 360 did something similar back when that was around. They put out. I remember them putting out a more powerful version of the 360 with like a better. I think it was a Jaguar processor or something like that. Yeah.
But they advertised it as well. They let people know that there was a new model that was halfway through the life cycle of the console, so it did have kind of a slight upgrade to allow it to continue to perform, kind of thing. Like this is the first time we see. I mean, maybe it's happened before and just no one's known, kind of thing. But this is the first time that they've been caught being not transparent about actually releasing a superior model and just not telling anyone, kind of thing. And I think that's the thing, right? It is just purely that because the old stock is still out there, you could walk into a store tomorrow, buy a PS4 Pro, and not buy the best one on the market. Yeah.
And probably not know about it, and probably be, none the wiser and be fine. So, I don't know. I don't have a strong emotional reaction to it.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, it's like, it's maybe an opportunity lost on their part, to
boost sale, new interest in sales.
Yeah, totally.
I'm opposed to the practice of just putting stuff out and not communicating it. They fixed an issue that people have complained about since the launch of the PS4 Pro, that if they play for I don't know what we're talking here when they say extended play sessions. To a normal person, extended maybe 2 hours, which is nothing. So I don't know what the fact is they've put something out that has addressed a known problem with their current system, and they've not bothered to tell anyone. Seems just bad to me. And not just bad from not great, but also it's lost opportunity on their part to get new sales, and also to restore some faith in a community that currently is very shaken by the general practices and behavior of Sony, who have just been really weird. Not bad, just really weird lately. Sony's been strange. And they could have restored some of that by being like, hey, we've addressed that concern you had with the PS4 Pro. This latest model has a different design that means it doesn't overheat in the same way.
You'd be
like, they've done nothing recently at all that's been like, hey, we listen to feedback and do things that you like us to do.
That's a good point. If anything, it just feels like I think that's why I had that reaction about them announcing that they weren't going to be at E3, because, recently it just seems like they're in that situation where they've done really well this console generation, and they're just sort of sitting back on their laurels, and it feels that way. I guess it's a reflection of that, but
they did the PSN name change thing, which people have been wanting for a while.
Oh, true.
Is that implemented yet? I remember they were working on it.
There was some sort of issue. I'm not entirely sure as to the details, but I think it's possible. You can change it once for free, and then I think it's like $10 or something afterwards. So I'm pretty.
Do you have to do it on the PlayStation, or can you just do it on the website? Because I don't have my. I don't have.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, man.
I want to change that now.
I have to have a look into it.
Does it matter? Do you need to update it if you don't have a PS4?
Yeah, because I hate it. I just don't want that to be the username.
Right. Yeah,
someone somewhere will somehow find your PSN username, and at one point you'll be like, huh, and you just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or they'll steal.
Or it could be one of those things so that people can find it and see my wicked trophy collection, because it's pretty good and I was pretty high level. I should have that uniform username across all platforms, and PlayStation is the only thing that's not that username.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. I think it's out, but I'll have to look into that further. But I think that just about brings us to a close, fellas, for this time around. So, as per usual, everyone, you can find us on overcastgamer.com. That is our website. That is where everything goes up. And you can find all of our back catalogue of podcasts. We are on episode 53, I believe, now. So there's a bunch of good stuff. You can see through the years as the quality has matured in our content, in terms of the technical aspects, not the actual content itself. That has remained very immature, and we intend to keep it that way, and unprofessional. You can also find our reviews, both written and video, on there, and just some random editorials and features every now and then. Sometimes go to a video game convention, write about it or something like that. But yeah, feel free to check it out. It's extremely low stakes. Never like to get into the political stuff because basically don't really give a shit about that.
Brave enough.
Just like the fun in video games on the Overcast Gamer website. So check that out. We're also on Twitter, Overcast Gamer, Facebook, Overcast Gamer, and we do streams. Regan and Balthazar are both streaming at the moment. Tuesdays and Thursdays, is it, boys?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Tuesday nights is Balthazar at 7 p.m. New Zealand time, and Thursday nights is myself at 7 p.m. New Zealand time.
Nice one.
Usually for a couple of hours.
And we're twitch.tv/Overcast Gamer NZ for that. So feel free to check that out. But in the meantime, thank you again for tuning in, watching, listening, whatever you're doing. And we'll see you again in a fortnight.